Cool. Well, we're back, Brad. It has been, I feel like it's been a hot minute since we've been back. I don't know the actual. Yeah. Okay. Been busy doing lots of stuff, but how have you been?
I've been good. Also busy. I feel like this time I want to be more chill, but just been working, been doing stuff on the side. Quite busy, but successful at the same time. I think there's been a lot of things I've been working my butt off for that are coming to fruition. So yeah,
Mm,
not too bad.
cool. You got a haircut too, I think, right?
I
Recently?
did get a haircut. Yeah, that
All
was
right.
part of the change. Was overdue for that. The dream is to wake up and look the same, all things said and done. So the haircut gets me closer to that vision.
Wake up and look the same. What do you mean?
You don't have to wet your hair. It's like I feel like with the longer hair,
Oh,
you
yeah,
gotta do more
yeah.
effort. I want to
For
wake
sure.
up, roll out of bed, spend like 10 seconds on looking better with the hair, and then
Yeah.
move on with my life.
It's crazy you mentioned that because I was like this close, like millimeters close to when I went and got my hair cut, like probably 2 weeks ago. I was just asking for a buzz cut. I was like this close because I was so over like doing the gel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then
It
I was
looks
like,
better with the gel, but it's just more effort. And I actually went to a new barber because I just feel like I wanted something closer. It's like one of those things that you move to an area, you find somebody, and you keep going to them. And there could be better or, closer options. And since I moved up here last year, I was like, why am I not finding a closer barber? And so I found one that's walking distance that I can schedule an appointment online too. So that was kind of nice. I did that recently. Very smooth, very nice woman. So probably be doing that again in a more frequent cadence because I feel like the other spot was just slightly too far that I was like, I need a haircut, but I'm so lazy to drive like 20 minutes. So now it's much more accessible.
Yeah, nice. Well, cool. Well, looking fresh, getting lots of stuff done. I guess, do you want to start with some of the hard work that you were talking about? Like, what was the hard work that you were doing? I think you might have
I
an
was
announcement
hoping
to
you would
make.
ask me that. So, big announcement. I've been working on the Split My Expenses iOS app since April 2024. Just last week, I released the app on the App Store. So if you have your iPhone open, you can search Split My Expenses, all one word. You should see it on the App Store. So when it first came out last week, I think it took about 1 or 2 days to get indexed into the search results. But now, yeah, if you go search on the App Store, you'll see it. I was looking at my stats the other day. I think in the past like few days that it got released, I think it was released on a Wednesday and today's a Monday. The past 3 days, it was like 40 app downloads, 30 app downloads, and then like 28. So I had went to my user feedback forum, which is a public forum that users can submit feedback on Split My Expenses to ask for things. And the top voted one is iOS app. So it felt amazing to go to that post and say, hey guys, here's like a direct link to the App Store listing. Go download the app. Like I've spent so many months on building this on and off, of course, but taken me many, many, many hours. And yeah, it's finally out there. And it's great to get downloads, great to get reviews. Right now, I'm asking folks to try it out and give me the feedback. Of course, it's version one. I've spent a lot of time on it, but it is version one, so there's going to be bugs. But overall, extremely happy and proud of what I shipped. And I think building a React Native app for the first time, a ton of learnings. And then following that release, I'm planning to do the Android app sometime this week. So hopefully by the time the podcast is out and you're listening to it, it is out on the Google Play Store and the iOS App Store. And then following that, just a bit more marketing efforts to get it out there. So a kind of a huge headache to get it out, both coding and getting through App Store review, which is always a fun time. Once you're through all that, you're on the App Store. Usually subsequent updates are pretty easy. But yeah, super, super happy that that's out.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
A couple things. So there is also proof of Brad's complete grind mode because he sent a text at like 4:30 in the morning doing something. I can't remember what you had sent, but it was like some screenshot of like some submission or something like that. So yeah, the grind is real.
Yeah. I even speaking about that, I totally forgot about that. So it was League Worlds that day and I was staying up to watch Worlds, but I was also staying up to get my App Store submission in, and League Worlds started, I think, at 11 p.m. California time, ended roughly at 4 a.m. California time. And I was working on my app the whole time as I was watching this, just trying to fix a bunch of random stuff. Cause it's like when you work on this app, you try to work on these core flows, and then all these various UI bugs kind of bother you. Before app submission time, it was my time to kind of go through all these kind of tiny UI nitpicks, and I fixed all these things. But I was looking at the clock. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like 4 a.m. and I'm submitting my app and just like dead tire, but it was worth it. And sadly, that build didn't get approved. Apple is kind of against various things. I think I had to sign in with Apple Bug that they rejected me on, but it was a sprint. I was like, I want to get this in on Saturday, so I just have more time to chill. And yeah, took a photo at like 4:30 a.m. It was kind of an accomplishment to spend that much grind time getting stuff done.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. So I wanted to ask you because I know you talked about the SME mobile app for some time, but I wanted to like now that you're done and it's pushed out, like you said, there's going to be things that you're going to have to still work on and tweak, of course. But like now that it's there, it's people can download it. Looking back now, I don't know exactly how long you've been working on it, like because something that I think you knew you had to do, but like maybe you weren't like working 100% on it from the start. You kind of came in waves,
Mm-hmm.
but how much longer do you think it would have taken you without Claude Code or without AI? It's not focused on Claude Code, but like now that you have built this thing, because your story, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like when I think about your story and your background, you are big web developer, PHP,
Mm-hmm.
Laravel, big iOS developer, but not React Native by like trade, I think. But keep me
Mm-hmm.
honest. I mean, you're an engineer, so it's
Mm-hmm.
you can pick it up. But like, so I think not a React Native engineer by like trade or by your job. So like having to be familiar with that. So like, just how pivotal was AI in getting to where you are now with
Yeah,
this
I
app?
mean, I don't want to say it too loudly, but extremely pivotal. I think folks, when they hear that, they're like, oh, the quality of the app probably isn't good. But again, I treat it as like context engineering, not vibe coding. I am coding with the guardrails in place and directing AI. So when I started in April 2024, I think it was like Claude 3.5 Sonnet was out, and I'd asked it to do a few things. But if I were to be completely honest, I think I had written that initial app in, April, spent a month or two building it kind of manually. Then AI picked up and I took a break. And by the time I had picked it up this year, basically I'd spent time on it April, May 2024, then pretty much paused completely until maybe October. I started the new job and tried a little bit, but then was just like, oh, I don't want to work on it right now. And then start of this year, I picked it back up. So end of last year, start of this year, I picked it back up. That's when AI was here. Claude Code came out in May, so that didn't exist, but I was still using AI pretty heavily at the time to figure out how to write some of this code better. So I did a bunch of kind of like AI assisted stuff, although it was through chats for a few months. And then once Claude Code came out, things definitely shaped up to be a lot faster. I'd spent probably most of my time working with Claude Code, building out tons and tons of features that I just knew should exist, but didn't have the time to do. So I would say at this point, my code base started out manual, ended up to use AI chat apps to kind of copy and paste code out, which is the manual caveman way. And then finally ended up with the kind of CLI tools that we use today. And from there, accelerated my pace very rapidly. I remember back in April 2024, I thought, oh, this app will take me 2 months. And that was without AI coding. And that was a complete failure of an estimation because it's taken me months with AI coding. And again, back then it was my full time job. Now it isn't. But still, there's something to be said about kind of waiting for these models to get better. And then my productivity is even faster. I was even thinking if it took me so long to get some of these models out or some of the code out, I could just keep waiting and kind of like piggybacking off these model releases. But luckily, they're smart enough now to get things done. So at this point, yeah, probably my code base is 75% like context engineered, maybe 25% handwritten. And without these tools, yeah, I would not have launched anywhere close to right now, and I probably would have cut out half the features. So extreme level up, and I would recommend everyone to use it. My code is still good, so it's AI written, but it's good. There will
Yeah.
be bugs with any software, handwritten or AI written.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's cool. I was setting up an old laptop. This is probably like 2 weeks ago now. And it was running Linux, like Ubuntu Linux or whatever. And I was trying to set up PyCharm, and I hadn't really ever used PyCharm, but I was like, oh, let me just use this and give it a shot. And I'm sure there's like AI in PyCharm. I don't know PyCharm that well, but like I know those. What's it? JetBrains, right? Is the company
Yeah,
that does those different ones. And you use PHP Storm, or you did, I think, at some
I
point, right?
did. Yeah, until
Yeah.
Claude
Okay.
Code, I did.
Yeah. Okay. So I think you know where I'm going with this. I was trying to use PyCharm, and I honestly like I felt like I couldn't do anything because I was missing my cursor like auto completes, missing my
Yeah.
suggestions. Like I was just making a simple like fast API app, and I was just kind of toying around. I wasn't like trying to build any kind of like product or anything like that. But I was just like, what do I forgot what I need to do here. Like, what do I got to do again? Because it become
Hmm.
so reliant on like the cursor autocomplete and then just the agent like functionality in cursor that I was like, wow, I don't think I can ever not ever go back to it because again, I'm not a coder by trade, but like, I was just like, wow, I can't imagine if you took AI away now, what engineering would feel like, which isn't that long ago. You were doing that,
It's not,
like you
yeah.
said, yeah, like 2 years ago, you were like that, everyone was
There's
coding like
lots of
that.
talk of like, engineering has changed forever. And I think those key moments, I feel exactly the same where if the internet is down or I'm on the plane and I can't use AI, I'm like, my productivity is definitely hindered with this. I can still critically think and get things done, but writing the
Yeah.
code, like doing multiple things at once, where I've definitely elevated my workflow to do like 2 agents on my web code base, 2 agents on my mobile code base, even have those work together, like great productivity, great unlock. And yeah, when you remove that AI from the picture and you do software engineering, still do a good job and write great code and probably even better code than the AI could write, but it's takes longer, takes more mental effort. You don't ship as fast. And I think in the age of AI, it's writing good enough code and shipping fast, and that combination is really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Well, you got it done, so now you get to kind of put your feet up and just relax, right? And now it'll just
And until the Android
run
app is out, but
itself.
yes, yes,
Oh
very,
yeah, yeah.
very shortly. I mean, I was concerned that no one was going to download it. I got like 40 downloads the first day.
That's
I
great.
felt that was
Yeah,
pretty successful, and I was
that
like,
is
I have
great.
no clue if this will end up being 5 a day or 2 a day, but I'll take the wins where I can. And it's now working on kind of the marketing side and Android side, and a lot of work to be done there. But I'm not sitting on thousands of lines of code that is unreleased. Like things will be
Hmm.
out and bugs will be found, and I'll fix them. But just spending so much time when you don't have anything to show, that part sucks. And so
Yeah,
once you get that
yeah.
thing out there, you're like, hey, here's what I've been working on, because people have messaged me for the past year. Hey, mobile
Hmm.
app, mobile app, and I'm like, hey, it's coming. I've
Yeah.
told people various dates, but hey, it's finally here. So if you're listening to the pod, go download it, give it a rating, tell me what you think. There's definitely updates coming in the next few weeks, but this is kind of V1 as it's going to look like as you see it. So yeah, go
And
check it out.
I think you had that on your bingo card mobile app. I want to say. I
I
want
think
to
I
say you
did,
did.
yeah. And
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
all
So
in
you get
my
a mark.
control. So if I didn't hit that one, I'd be pretty sad. But
Yeah,
it is there.
yeah. No, that's cool. Um, shoot, what I was gonna say yeah, those numbers are great, and plus too, you never know when you launch something, like if people pick it up right away, but also like psychologically, I'm sure for you, like getting something that you had been like working on for a long time, especially when there's like external, I don't say pressure, but external ask, like, hey, like you said, when's a mobile app? When's a mobile app? Probably feels so nice to just get that over the wall. I think
Yeah.
everyone's been in that spot where you have some project that either it's taking a long time or it's really difficult, and it kind of gnaws at you for a while. And like
Hmm.
once you finally get it done, it's like, okay, I can go take a walk. I can breathe a little bit.
Yeah, I had some dessert that day. It was great. I was like, thank goodness this is out here, and like just on to the next problem. But
Hmm.
this is like a big hurdle. Like there's always something ahead, is what I've learned, but this is like a huge milestone. And now if you go to my developer profile on Apple, Vuxbyte LLC, you'll see I have 2 apps, Chatty Butler, still thriving, and we got Split My Expenses. So soon to be at my first app on the App Store for Android as well, which will be a huge achievement.
Hmm.
So yeah, lots of stuff cooking for month of November, and I think in December a little bit more marketing. So that'll be a different flex of muscles.
All right, I got two things for you. Okay. One, I don't know if you remember this, but I came up with a genius advertisement for SME. Do you remember this
I
at
think
the
you told me
diner?
about it, but just to be fair, I do have quite a few ideas of my own. But yeah.
Hey, look, I know how to sell, baby. Okay. So basically, now with Sora, all you got to do is have like a friends go out to dinner at like a diner or like at a sushi place, wherever. And then when the bill comes, it's like that awkward. They look around at each other. Then
Hmm.
that's like one scene. And then the next scene, the bill comes and everyone's smiling and they just pull up your app and they do it. And there's no words need to be said. It's just the visuals.
Hmm.
Like the video with Smee is like vibrant and upbeat, and everyone's like laughing and smiling. The one without me is like awkward and like kind of unsure. It's gold.
Yeah.
It's gold. It's
It's
gold,
it's a good
Jerry.
one. Yeah. And I mean, even off that, my end all be all vision is you can take a photo of a receipt and actually describe it with your voice on how to split it. So if you go out to dinner with people and you're like, oh, this person got the pizza, this person got the steak, this person got, 2 wine bottles, like just be able to describe that. And then not only does it itemize the receipt, but it applies who got what with their name. That's coming. I'm going to put that on my bingo card for 2026 because that is coming and it'll just make things easier. I feel like, getting data into the app is sometimes a challenge with receipt scanning. It's better, but you
Mhm.
still need to say who did what. And that's tapping and kind of configuring the app. If you could just use your voice and use AI, it'll be so much better. And that's kind of the pinnacle I see of fast data entry without hassle. So once that feature is out, 2026, I'm going to hit you up for the advertisement. We'll make it happen.
Mhm.
And yeah, we'll see the results in 2026.
Yeah. The other one that you'll have to do is the OpenAI apps SDK, right?
Oh
You'll
yeah,
probably
that'd
want
be
to do
cool.
that at some point. Yeah, like because you could just because I think the idea being that you type like you at so my expenses, here's my receipt. I got this with Ben, split it this way, and like it makes a I don't know what your backend's like, but
Hmm.
like makes an API call to your system or whatever. Like that could be something too that you have to sign up for.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And
I don't know what
yeah,
their status is with all that, but I think it'd be cool to be a first mover on an AI integration.
yeah. Well, cool. Well, again, congrats, and that's
Thank
big
you.
news. And we're already loading you up with some more work, already. But like, you can kind of enjoy this one a little bit, hopefully, and not
Yeah,
dive
that's
right into
always how it
something.
is.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I did a little bit of not to the same degree, but I did a little bit of vibe coding since last time that we spoke on the pod. Um, just a quick update for my world. Um, I had been using Squarespace as my website host and like builder for my kind of accounting firm, which is Catalyst CFO. And I just hated Squarespace, to be honest with you. I think no matter who you talk to in terms of like a pre-built website builder, there's Wix, there's Squarespace. I'm blanking on some other ones, but I don't think anyone really loves them because I think
Hmm.
everyone has a certain idea of what they want in a website, but then it's hard to get exactly right. But I was like, I'm overusing Squarespace. I'm overpaying for it. I know there's a better way to do it. And I was like, let me just kind of like, I don't want to say vibe code because that I think now vibe coding has a negative connotation.
It does a little
Um,
bit, I think, just
yeah,
slightly.
but like my site is like it's static pages. It's information. It's about my firm. It's about who I am. So it's like it's not like functional, like a web application. But yeah, I mean, I used Cursor's plan mode, which we can talk about and dissect. But basically, it was like, hey, this is what I want to see. These are the pages that I want on my website. This is how I want to come across. So I gave it, like a marketing point of view. I gave it like the tech stack that I was comfortable with and what I'm familiar with, and then like just some basic information about like my firm, and pricing and all that, and like let it rip on plan mode. And so that was super helpful because basically with cursor plan mode, you can now toggle between agent and ask. Those are the ones that they've always had or have had for a long time now. But then this third mode of plan mode, I think it basically goes and creates a like markdown file, I believe. At least I saved it as a markdown file once it made this plan, makes this big plan, and then you can have the agent go execute that plan. But before you go execute, you can tweak the plan if it says, hey, based on your prompt, I'll go ahead and make, your website purple. And it's like, no, I don't want you to do that. Can you tweak that and make it blue or whatever? And it can so you can kind of tweak the plan before it goes and get started. And then from there, set it loose and let it do its thing. And I think from what I've seen online and just from my own experience, the output is much better when it has that kind of guiding document to go through versus like just kind of constantly one prompting each little add-on that you
Hmm.
want to do for your website. So yeah, proud to say that got catalystcfo.co up and running with that, as
It
well as
looks
my
a lot
other.
better too. I mean, I,
Yeah.
I think Ben had sent it to me. I was like, wow, this looks pretty good. I don't know what kind of theme it reminded me of, but it felt kind of light and to the point, professional, but kind of friendly. How to
Hmm.
put it? I don't know what exactly you told AI to get what you got, but I thought, oh, this is like readable and modern and friendly and
Yeah.
professional. That's like how I would put it. And I guess folks have to look at it who are listening, but it looks a lot better. And I have used Squarespace myself. Kind of
Hmm.
sucks. I'm glad you took this route. I guess I have a few questions. Is it on a VPS? Are we talking, EC2? Are we talking Vercel? Are we talking, raw VPS? Where did it end up at?
Yeah, so I found you might be familiar with this, but I wasn't familiar with it until I was looking and googling things. Render. Are you familiar with
Oh,
Render?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So what had, I'm familiar with Fast API. I think, if you listen to this podcast a lot, Python's like my go-to, and but creating a Fast API application and then just Dockerizing it was like really easy to do. And so basically, I had that plan mode. I said in the plan, I said also I want to put this like within a Docker container because like those have always just been easier to deploy. I remember I had to do that when I was using DigitalOcean a long time ago with a web app, and so just doing that, and yeah, I basically pointed the render web app to the repo in GitHub, and every time I push an update, it just auto deploys from that repo. So yeah, super easy to use, very very price effective too. Like I think I'm paying for the tier I'm using for Augmentic, it's like $7 a month, and then for Catalyst, it's I think it's I did one tier higher, and I think it's like $19 a month. I want to say, where Squarespace has charged me $40 a month for one site. So
Nice. So you got
yeah,
cost savings and a better design and more control. Isn't
yeah.
AI great?
Yeah, and on the prompting and how to make it look, what I had did on the marketing, I don't know if you call it marketing, branding side maybe, is I knew what font I wanted. I knew what color scheme I wanted because I had the color scheme for like a while, and I was trying to do that with the old Squarespace site. But so basically, I just told the AI as part of the branding like template, like use these color schemes. I gave it like the hex codes. And I said use this font package. I think it's like Poppins. I think is yeah, Poppins
Hmm.
is the font. So I was like, I needed to be consistent with those sprinkles of branding throughout the whole page, or throughout the whole site, and then it did a pretty good job of that. So yeah, I was very impressed with the plan mode for Cursor, and just for context too, and I'd be curious on your point on this or your perspective, but like I think I was never a big Claude Code user, but I think Claude Code basically planned before Cursor did, right? Like I think
Oh
Cursor
yeah.
is kind of
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
okay. So
Plan
so
mode
this is
was
my
here in
first
Claude Code. So
yeah,
Cursor caught up and they did it well. And I wanted to ask, in your
yeah.
experience with Cursor, are you doing an auto model chooser? So when you have their model
Hmm.
selection, there's auto, and there's also, you could pick specific models like GPT 5.1 Codex, GPT 5.1 Codex dash high. What did you experience in both plan and execute?
Yeah, most of the time I just did auto.
Okay,
A
interesting.
couple times I picked like I'm looking at it now and I had on selected 5.1 Codex Mini. I think for the
Oh,
last thing I was
mini.
doing.
Okay, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I've done historically. I was told from some of the Cursor folks, try to use GPT 5.1 dash codex dash high. So there's GPT
Mm,
5.1, there's 5.1 codex, which is more built for the CLI, better tool calling, and there's 5.1 codex dash high, which is a higher thinking budget. So what I was doing with Cursor, which I also think they have a fantastic update, kudos to them. You go through this plan phase, then you go through and execute the plan phase. And I would highly suggest to select a very good thinking model for that plan phase. So yeah, like you described, you type out a long prompt of what you want. It'll go search the code and figure out how to do that. It'll write you a markdown file, which you can actually edit within their UI and modify whatever it has, or you can keep chatting with it to refine that plan. Then once you're happy with that plan, you can bring it to execute mode, kind of like build what we talked about. That one is really cool because Cursor has their own model right now, Composer One,
mhm.
which is very fast and efficient and is pretty darn good. So I think it's trained off like a Quen model that's pretty recent, but essentially based on their input data that Cursor gets from people using their application, oftentimes typing code or tab completions. They've used that training data set to create Composer One, kind of forked off an open source model, I think unofficially. But what that gets you is extremely good coding quality with really fast speed, which is really, really awesome for Cursor. I think they're trying to, not only have their CLI or kind of AI IDE environment, but also have a model to power it. So what I would ask you to do is probably switch your model to go to the thinking mode, which I think will produce better results. But once you're done with that, you can choose a separate model to actually code it. And you can use GPT 5.1 Codex High to code it, but it just takes longer. And what I found is
Mhm.
Composer 1 is like 85 to 90% of the way there in terms of accuracy to build something. And it's much faster. So, like, depending on the complexity of the task, you'll need to choose the right model. But for the most part, for everyone listening, I would definitely recommend like a 5.1 Codex High for planning and probably Composer 1 or the exact same model, 5.1 Codex High for execution. Because I found really, really good results of that. And I think they've done a great job making the plan mode more of a first class citizen within the entire workflow.
Yeah, I was just looking at my like active models on Cursor, and I see
Mhm.
the Codex Hide, and I don't have it active right now. Um, but I'll check that
You
out. But
see
yeah,
how
right
many
now,
GPT models there are?
yeah, it's crazy. And also too, the one I have used a bit more that I was impressed with was Grok. I think I mentioned that one of the last times
Mhm.
that we got on, because that was really fast. Like, and I don't know if that's like not a thinking, because the little brain symbol is a thinking, indicates thinking, right? In
The
Cursor.
brain one, I think, is can support long context. I can't remember. If you hover over
Okay.
that, I think it should tell you, but I can't fully remember. I'm so locked into my existing
Yeah.
workflow without any. It could be thinking. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure.
I think it is, but in any case, there's a lot of thinking models now, which I think before
Hmm.
I remember like '03 was like the first time I saw that little brain symbol. I'm not saying it was the
Used to
first
be a
thinking
big
model,
deal.
but yeah, but now they're just everywhere.
I don't know
It's
if you've
crazy.
tried this too. They have a multi-agent mode. So when you have a plan,
Hmm.
you can actually have multiple agents executed and kind of choose the best one. I haven't done it yet, but I
Yeah.
thought, wow, we're really getting to the spot where they've created this efficient model to do things fast. Where back
Hmm.
when using GPT-5, it took forever to get edits done and like plans done. They've, dialed back the intelligence, but kept the speed, or sorry, dialed back and made it faster, but kept a lot of the intelligence. So they kind of have like a good enough model is what I would call it for Composer One, and that it allows you to do a lot more coding. You don't need
Hmm.
to wait for a long time. So again, you can get a lot more stuff done. So really, really awesome. I would definitely suggest to try it out for folks listening. GPT-5 High for planning and Composer One for implementation. And if you're not on Cursor 2.0 yet, definitely upgrade. Give it a $20 try. I think they've really come around to have
Hmm.
a really, really good experience recently.
Do you know, not to put you on the spot, but do you know the cycle agent count thing in Cursor, where you
I
can like, okay, yeah. So
huh.
we'll keep it in here for the pod, but if anyone's using that cycle agent count in Cursor, let us know, because I was just looking at it recently. So I just updated my Cursor. Brad and I were talking before we hit record that I think I'm maybe like a week or two behind, but I just updated it. So they had like the new agents tab and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
when I look at my model selector, right next to it, it has like a little 1x, and then I can like click a drop down, and it says 2x, 3x, and it says,
Oh, that is that one. Yeah. Yeah. That's what
okay,
I was mentioning.
okay, so you can just select multiple models. Okay, because I've seen,
No, that one is it'll do whatever you ask it, it'll make multiple agents do the same
oh, okay,
prompt. And then you
okay.
choose like which one you think is the best.
Okay, interesting. Okay, I missed what you were saying there and how that tied to that little button
Yeah,
there.
it's
But
it's a little
okay,
confusing. I don't like powered under the hood is like when you use Git, you have branches, but there's a
yeah,
Git work tree which allows you to have like a different branch, but that branch also exists in a different folder. So therefore you can have multiple agents do different things, but they're acting in different folders, and therefore you can compare the outputs without overwriting
hmm,
each other. But it's a little bit of a complicated workflow, so I don't actually use it because of that hurdle.
yeah, yeah. One other thing I canceled, then we can move off of this topic. But I canceled Claude. I said I'm done. I
Oh,
had given it
really?
a shot. Yeah, it was back when I was canceling Squarespace. I'm like, I don't look at my subscriptions, and I was like, I tried. I'm just not a Claude guy. I'm not an Anthropic guy. So save myself
Interesting.
$20. Yeah, I'm like, I'm good
I
with Cursor. I'm good with OpenAI, with ChatGPT. I love Gemini. Like, I don't need Claude. That was like my like thought process.
I actually don't use Claude AI, so their chat app very often, but of course I'm a big
Hmm.
fan of Claude Code. What I did notice recently is I was using deep research to kind of find some research for some web queries that I had. And when I was
Hmm.
comparing the same exact prompt into ChatGPT versus Claude AI's, I think Claude searched 687 web articles to collect evidence. And I think ChatGPT searched, I think like 200. And I thought,
Hmm.
wow, like I didn't know Claude was so good at fetching the context. However, when I looked at the output from both of these deep research queries, very similar. So like
Hmm.
Claude seemed to scrape 3 times as many pages. ChatGPT scraped, a third less, but the results are roughly the same. So I
Yeah.
think earlier this year, Cloudflare was getting really upset at like Anthropic for scraping a bunch of stuff. There was, I think even we talked about in the pod, like one query for deep research equals like, 500 Google search queries. And then they
Hmm.
go scrape all these results. And I think it still holds true that Anthropic does a lot more scraping than ChatGPT does. And, with the same output, I didn't really see it was worth it. Maybe in a different query it'd be worth it. But I think that was one thing that Claude could be good at is if they can scrape so much and package that together into, comprehensive answer, maybe that could be worth, $20. But I didn't find too much value for it, but I was impressed by how much they had scraped.
Hmm. Yeah, and I'd be curious too if you were to do that same thing with Google's or with Gemini's deep research, because
Yeah.
you have to think that Google has the leg up on like how to search, given that
Yeah.
it's
You'd
been the
hope.
de
You'd hope.
facto. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I'd be curious because I know that with their ADK, their agent kit, that like Google search or like web search, I think is what they call it, is like just a function that's just part of the package. Like it's not like,
Hmm.
I'm used to doing lang graph and lang chain, and like you'd have to use like Tavily search library to like, you don't have to, but like people would use Tavily search to like look for data online and stuff like that. But like when building with the Google with the ADK, it was like they had just a pre-built function that's for web search, and it was really good. From when I was just messing around with it. So I'd be curious how that
Yeah,
would
I'll have to
compare to
try
the
that. I
deep.
do want to do like a side by side by side. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I do have Gemini, like AI Pro. I do have Claude,
Hmm.
$200, and I do have ChatGPT, $20, which I think is plus. So that gives
Yeah.
me access to all deep research. So I should take a query and just run it through. Unfortunately, the output of deep research is like a novel. So to
Yeah.
compare that already takes like 30 minutes. So I need to
Yeah.
get back to the workflow of setting that output to the podcast thing that Google has. What is that one called?
The Notebook LM.
Notebook LM. Yeah, that one's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
good. I need to use that more. That
yeah,
one's such a game changer.
yeah. And they just had they just released their API not that long ago. I'm not sure if
Yeah,
I
I need to
told you
build
that.
something
Yeah,
with that. That would be awesome.
it has the best like fake podcast generator that I've seen. Like they just do a good
Hmm.
job of like, and I think they more recently announced that you can like customize it a bit more than you used to be able to. So, yeah, like you could give Notebook LM a bunch of data via the API, have it make a podcast like completely, and like some people like AI podcast isn't for everybody, but like I like it to like if I need to take my dog on a walk, I like will upload some like technical thing like a
Hmm.
tax document or like something like that, and like just listen to it, and it's just like just kind of reinforces. Maybe it's not like as good as reading it, but like it still just kind of like lets you kind of get it a different way, which is always I think a
Yeah,
good
it's
thing.
like a skim of materials. I found when I've
Yeah,
used it
yeah.
in the past few months, it's like gets you like an intro into it. It's not the full deepest thing you could do, but
Hmm.
it helps. So
Yeah. Well, speaking of, I guess Google. I mean, one thing on those subscriptions too, because we're just talking about it. Pay for G Suite for my business, and with that, you get like obviously the email, Google Drive, and all that stuff. But then you also get Gemini, Pro, like a 2.5 Pro, um, and then Notebook LM. And so like that's such a good deal and I think I pay like $20 a month, $30 a month.
that's not bad. Yeah.
Yeah, but you compare that to like, Claude, or you just get to me, Google is just, how I feel about Google. They're just killing it. But um, yeah, speaking of Google, I guess there's some potential big news coming soon, we think. Do you want to elaborate on what that is? Kind of wrap this
Yeah,
one up?
if you're on Tech Twitter or Tech X now, my feed has been inundated with Gemini 3.0 so far as Google CEO Sundar talking about it and kind of quote tweeting various people talking about Gemini 3. So it's coming out this week, supposedly tomorrow. So we're recording today on Monday, November 17th. Supposed drop is Tuesday, November 18th. And I think there's even betting markets deciding when it's going to drop. I think Google stock even was up like 5% today. So It's very, very hyped. I have no clue if that, rise in Google stock today has to do with the speculation of Gemini. But I think what I've been hearing is that it's a game changer. Oh my God, AGI. Like, I don't know how to put my finger on the exact details of why it's better, but from what I've seen, there supposedly was a few people who had access, and it's become such a meme at this point. I can't tell who's had real access and who's just adding, kind of like fire to the flame. But these people are
Hmm.
really touting Gemini 3 being a large leap in, intelligence and code writing ability. So we'll have to see. I think I'm hoping this is kind of my stat sheet. I'm hoping like a 2 million context window. I'm hoping that it beats out on all the latest benchmarks. Again, there's so many benchmarks out there. It feels weird to kind of point at one, and I couldn't say I'm an expert at any, but I'm hoping it has a lot better tool calling because Gemini CLI always fumbled on calling tools. Where that's where Claude's model really shined, is it would call tools successfully like 98% of the time. And when you're working in Cursor or Claude Code, you need to be able to call tools without failing. So I'm hoping, yeah, big context window, great intelligence leap. Ideally, not too slow. Again, I'm kind of okay with slow, but ideally not too slow. I've tasted the Composer One of the world, and I feel, man, it'd be great to have a fast model. And then lastly, I think the Google pricing. Keep the Google pricing because that pricing is dirt cheap. I use their models for split my expenses because you just can't beat the Google pricing. So yeah, hopefully tomorrow is a big day and Google releases it. We get access. There's no stage rollout or anything. And what I'm going to do is just update my models, Gemini 3.0, 3.0 Flash, 3.0 Pro. Hopefully that's here. Really excited about
Hmm. Yeah, I was just as you were talking, I was just trying to see if anyone has any like estimates for like what
it.
will be the leg up, and people are from what I'm just seeing right now, it doesn't seem like anyone has a really good idea, other
Yeah.
than just like hearsay. But yeah, on Twitter, every now and then for the last like month, honestly, maybe 2 months, a random day Gemini will be trending. I'm like, oh, why
Hmm.
is this? And people will say that it's been released, and it's just like bot farms basically, like trying
I've
to
seen
get
that too.
eyeballs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's just the bots on Twitter is just ridiculous. But yeah, I mean that's gonna be something that's really cool to see. I don't know, will we hit a point where like, I think we talked about this before of like, is how much intelligence is enough? Like, will we get to a point where like it's about as good as it can get, like in this current like cycle, and now it needs to be, like you said, focused on like speed and stuff like that. So I'll be curious from like the intelligence perspective, if there's anything that it can do, just in layman's terms. I don't care that it can do a rocket science PD like research report,
Hmm.
like, but just like in layman's terms, what can it do that like it couldn't do in the last version of Gemini? Like that's what I'll be interested to see. Um, if they announce it, like what's the takeaway, right? Like what's
Yeah,
the
it'll
new
be
thing?
hard. I feel like a lot of those things come out after the fact too, where a really intelligent model comes out. People use it
Hmm.
for the same old, but those new use cases really take some time to kind of unlock. So yeah, I'm curious to see what people take a spin with it. I think they put a lot more effort onto Gemini CLI, which is good. OpenAI has
Hmm.
also put a lot of effort on Codex, their CLI, which is great. So like we're getting to the point where yeah, intelligence is high across the board. The CLIs are converging, and plan mode is here to stay. Like where do we differentiate? Well, speed, intelligence hopefully is eked out by somebody, and then costs. And again, I think Google with the TPUs, they are set up for success. If they can build the right model that harnesses their own infrastructure and large data pipeline, they have search, they're kind of winning in that regard. I think the expectation is pretty high though.
Hmm.
This happens with OpenAI too. Like Sam Altman has teased, GPT-5, like Death Star, all these kind of memes popping up. Then when it came out, there was a bit of confusion and like, oh, we expected more. So the fact that Gemini has been trending pops up on my feed all the time. Expectations are definitely there. I hope they deliver. I hope they crush it. I hope they over deliver. But yet to be seen. I'm excited for the next pod. Should definitely be out
Hmm.
by then, and we can kind of give our 2 cents and deep dive. And if there's anything I know about OpenAI, is they'll always fire back when Google drops something. So if Gemini comes out tomorrow, I wouldn't put it past OpenAI to kind of put a model out in the next 2 weeks after that release to try to catch up or show face. So we'll have to
Hmm.
see.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Should we wrap this one up with our bookmarks?
Yeah, let's do it. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, yeah, I can. Yeah. So mine, I'm excited about this one because it is accounting and AI, which is just the sweet spot. So basically, there's a bunch of different articles, but the one I had bookmarked and wanted to kind of take another read through is from seekingalpha.com, which is like an investment, stock kind of website. But basically, it's about Michael Burry, who is the kind of person that Christian Bale plays in The Big Short. Basically, he has like a hedge fund, and exiting he's exiting trading. He's closing out his hedge fund because basically he thinks that there's an AI bubble here, which we've talked about before. Is AI in a bubble or not? But why it's significant and why there's accounting involved is because they specifically call out depreciation expense. Now, for those that are maybe aren't familiar with what depreciation expense is, it's where you have like an asset that you buy and you think it's going to last you 3 years. You would straight line spread the expense of that asset over 3 years to reflect, the use of it over that time. And what I think what Michael Burry, I hope I'm saying that right, or Burry. I'm gonna say Burry because it looks like furry but with a B. So Michael Burry, is saying is that the AI chips, a lot of these companies are depreciated on a 5 to 6 year useful life cycle, which is pretty consistent with just kind of general IT equipment. But the point that he's making is that these chips really are like on a 1 year cycle or less, at least less than 5 to 6 years. And so the cost that they're going to need to replace the chips, as NVIDIA releases more and more chips each year, new chips each year, that they're going to need to replace those chips. But if they're only recognizing the depreciation expense over a 5 year useful life, they are like, I'm not saying this is like maliciously done, but they are, overstating their profit, or they're understating their expenses because they're spreading that purchase over too long of a period when really they know it's going to only last them for a year or 2 years. So really interesting. And it talks about, in the article, it talks about all the different like billions of dollars being spent on CapEx, which is capital expenditures. Again, these assets that hyperscalers are buying from NVIDIA. And they even have a quote from the Meta CFO, I think from last year, talking about how there's going to be an acceleration in depreciation expense associated with all the spending that they're doing with AI. So it seems interesting. I think companies that are still depreciating on a 5 to 6 year useful life with some of these NVIDIA chips, it's a good question. Like, is that really appropriate, or should that be reevaluated? So yeah, something that's interesting with all the talk about hype and bubbles and all that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. My first thought was this bubble might come crashing if people are doing wrong estimates there.
Yeah, interesting, right? So yeah, I'm gonna give it another read through. But yeah, this could be something to watch out for as the year goes.
Cool. My bookmark is from the Cursor team, as we talked about it. So Sasha Rush, who is a researcher at Cursor, gave, I think, an hour presentation, 20-minute presentation about how they train the Cursor model. So I was taking a look at it earlier today. Pretty interesting. Kind of talks about how they use their tap completions data to kind of power this model. And again, this is the one we're talking about earlier, Composer 1. Pretty fast. I would actually say really fast and pretty smart is how I describe it. It's kind of interesting to see how Cursor is moving from the model harness, where they'll take in OpenAI, Claude, etc., to the model creator, where they have a tap completion model and a full-on Composer 1 chat model and agent model. So if you're interested in how they did that 20-minute video from their team describing how they train this model with their own proprietary data. So pretty cool.
Nice. The one other bookmark, then I promise we'll wrap it up, is I can't believe that Apple is releasing a iPhone sock. Did you see that?
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, that was
unbelievable. $230.
Like 200. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Like, I just look. I don't want.
Is it on your wish list?
Don't ever get me that. Don't. If I see that sock in my Christmas present, I'll be so mad.
Might have to get it.
No, it's unbelievable. I don't know what they're doing. I'm sorry.
It's actually called the iPhone Pocket. So for folks listening who are interested, the iPhone Pocket.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the article headlines. A lot of people are like, "Why is this happening? Why are we releasing this?" So yeah, that's we've talked about Apple before and their strange lack of, growth in some areas, and maybe they were too focused on socks. I don't know. But any case, yeah, interesting, but we'll see where that goes. Awesome.
Nice.
Well, good stuff, Brad. We'll wrap it up there. And till next time.
Awesome. See you next time.
See ya. Thank you for listening to the Breaking Brothers podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave us a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you may be listening from. Also, be sure to subscribe to our show and YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Thanks, and take care. All views and opinions by Bradley and Bennett are solely their own and unaffiliated with any external parties.